Welcome, everybody. We are talking today about discovering the right riches for you, not what anybody else has told you is required to make money or have riches and wealth, but what actually works for you. And I am joined by my lovely friends. We have Miss Simone Zucker, who's in Germany right now.
Hello.
Hi. And we have Marcia, and we've got Maria, and they're both in Slovenia.
Hi.
Hi.
So we asked online, we asked some people in Europe what they wanted to know about the right riches for you classes and materials of access consciousness. And they came back with some incredible questions. So we've picked some out that we thought might be useful, might be helpful, and they also really have a lot to do with the tools that we use daily to keep on creating wealth. Now, I just have to say that when I started on this path, if you like, of access consciousness, I had £17.50 to my name. In euro, that's about 20 euro. That's all I had. I'd made a lot of money before in my previous career in business intelligence. I'd invested it in businesses that did not work out, and I had zero. So the point of me telling this is that you can create from zero, you can create from where you are right now, and you don't need money to create. Okay, I would say that was one of the biggest beliefs that I've seen. It has been one of the biggest beliefs that I've seen, around the world, people thinking that you need money to create money. What if that's just not true? So before I launch into this huge topic that we could all talk about for days on end, let's get started with the questions. So the first question that we received is, what tool are you using the most often for you and your clients? Oh my God. How many days do we have? Who wants to start off with this one? Because I know we will all have something to say about this one. All right. I'm going to ask Maria.
You put me on the spot. Um, well, for me, actually, and for my clients, the first thing that actually came up was interesting point of view. I have this point of view. That's basically right now for me is the go-to tool. So being interesting point of view with everything that comes up around money, that comes up around wealth, riches, or like having, not having, whatever comes up. Like recently, I had some stuff coming up for me where I was transferring a big sum of money, and something went wrong in the system. Wrong. It did not come where it was supposed to, and it stayed in limbo. So my first, of course, I went into freak out in the beginning. Like, who
Yeah.
doesn't? We're all, we say bloody under the skin in Slovenia. And then immediately after that, I was like, no, no. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. Everybody else has this point of view. An interesting point of view. I have this point of view, that everyone has this point of view. And I kept repeating that tool until I had space. And also, I also invite all my clients to do that as well, because it has
Yeah.
worked for me so much, and it actually created miracles. I got the information then to call someone, and it got resolved like that. Whereas before,
That's
I didn't know
incredible.
what would happen. And that was an actual thing that happened a few days ago to me with regards to money. And I was like,
That's
as
so
as
cool.
much as I'm, doing with, that, and it still comes up. So, like I said, we're all bloody under the skin. And
Yeah,
this
that's
tool is
amazing.
like a lifesaver.
Well, and that's also a situation that it would seem like is out of your hands, and it is out of your hands to a certain degree. But the thing that I love about that tool is that it takes you out of reaction. So the automatic pilot that we go into reaction or anger as though that's going to do anything, it actually takes you 10 steps back because you're not thinking clearly. You're not asking questions about what's the next move to make. You're not even receiving information of who can I speak with. You're now caught up in your drama. So that's where all your attention is going. Cool. I love that. All right. The second question, which I'm actually going to address this question because I was thinking about this morning, which is what made you really believe that being rich was available to you? I have to say, nothing. I don't believe that being rich is available to me. I know it. It's different. I don't have a belief about it. I tried to make myself believe it. And I just want to, I kind of want to go into this a little bit because I think so often we think that if we're going to have something, we need to like believe it. Like, I know I can do this. Like, I feel it in my bones. I don't. I don't feel it in my bones at all. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, why am I so slow at creating? Whereas someone else might be like, oh, you're super fast, or someone else might be, have their own perspective. So what if belief actually has absolutely nothing to do with it whatsoever? I often say this in the classes that I do as well. I have never once believed or known how to do something before I could do it. I remember going into like a job interview before I started working in economic media a long time ago. And at every single point of like this 5-day long interview that was in a different country, I was sat there, no word of a lie, with my handbag in my hands, just ready to walk out the door. I must have looked like a crazy person because I did not believe anything. I was just so present with what was going on that I was like, okay, what do they need from me now? What do I need to do now? What do I have to deliver now? What's like, the right thing to say here? And so what I saw around me was a lot of people that were like, yeah, like I'm like so confident, and some of them made it through, some of them didn't make it through. But what I realized was that actually didn't really make that much of a difference. Now, I'm not saying don't believe in yourself, but don't count on that as the only thing. I have never been like, I believe I can do it. Mostly I'm like, I've got no idea if this is going to work. That's pretty much where my 24/7 stance is. I don't really know, but let's try and see. So what if actually what you're looking for is that choice of let's give it a shot and see what happens? Like, what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work. Well, you're no worse off than where you are right now. So to me, belief is like completely overrated because I think we work so hard to try and believe that we can do something before we do it. But it's kind of like believing that you can digest your food before you eat. Like, it just makes no sense. You just have to eat and see how it is, And I think we tend to overthink absolutely everything. But I would say, what if instead you start asking yourself, all right, what's the greatest possible scenario that could happen here? What's the greatest possible scenario? Stop thinking about the worst possible scenario because we always look at that and then wonder why we don't have any self-belief. No wonder, because we're obsessing about all the worst possible outcomes and trying to find solutions to them before they happen, which creates what? Mental insanity, basically. It's a way that you can drive yourself crazy, so start just making that shift by in your mind, just like starting to ask yourself, so what is the greatest possible scenario here? What's the best thing that could show up? And see what that starts to change. So number 3, how do you start being aware of the feather touch signals from the universe about what to do and when? And how was it for you? So Simone or Marja, who wants to take this one?
I can go with this one. So first of all, I did not know that you started with 70 pound 50. I'm like, oh, it's pretty similar to me because like I was asking for every 20 euros to buy food, my boyfriend at the time. Like it's kind of like, yeah, therefore I knew choice creates. Like first is the choice. And yeah, as I started with the tools of access consciousness, there was really like that first is the choice. Yeah. So that I want to do that. Like it was foundation at the time. Like for my bars class, I was invited. I was one of the 1,000 lucky ones receiving a gift and running with it instead of fighting against it. So, because as I said, like, yeah, whatever. And I knew 6 weeks later was a foundation, and I just knew there is something I was looking for my whole life that I can receive there. And then the facilitator at the time gave me a list of questions to ask. And one of those was, what can I be, do, or have to actualize that? X amount of money, whatever. And then I was asking these questions, and there comes that impulse. It's not that someone rings at your door and says, here's the money for you, now go to class. I guess that's what the head thinks what happens. That's not what happens. There is that impulses that comes. And there was that idea to just call a friend of a friend to give the bar session. And I was sitting in my car like at least 10 minutes, and the devil and the angel like chatting with each other. Is it okay to do that or not? And at the end, we're like, you know what? Whatever she might say, you're the worst person ever on the planet. I will never like to talk to you, but I don't even know the person. I can just call her and ask her, would you like to have a session? And then I just did. And I was fucking uncomfortable. But like we had a most amazing afternoon. She was happy about the bar session. The 70 euros at the time was no big deal at all for her. I learned so much. It was that like at the end, I was like, but it's clearly an idea what I can do to get money. So and then I did it. Like, and how often are these ideas what you could do that would allow money to come into your world? I'm like, no, this is not okay. This is not okay. That's not me. That's not me. No, 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 no. That's why we say no to, like, one hand we ask for it, but then we're saying no to the possibility that just knock on your door. So it's not the money comes, it's sometimes the idea that allows money to flow into your world. So
absolutely. I love that, because you just described it perfectly. It's not that the money's going to show up like in a box at your door. It's the idea or the contact or the person or whatever, that then leads to the money.
yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. So Marcia, I'm going to ask you question number 4, which is, this person asked, what could I do to make money out of ideas?
Yes, and the first question I will ask, okay, will this idea make me money? So if it won't create more money for me, I won't choose it. That's the first thing to look at. We usually go into, oh, I have an idea. Okay, let's create, let's start, let's do that. And then we are like spending money for this, our time, and it doesn't create anything. And the second question I will ask is, okay, shall I do it now? Or is this a creation for the future? And then, okay, when in the future? And then I will ask, okay, please, when is the right time? Like ding, ding, ring on me. So I will go there, and then just asking questions and go with the energy.
So brilliant and so pragmatic. Thank you. And I think that's exactly it. Like being willing to ask those questions that sometimes we don't ask because we think that if we ask them, we're going to get an answer that we don't like, or something that's going to be negative or bad that will prove how wrong we are, rather than being willing to be bluntly honest with ourselves, which doesn't mean like torturing yourself, but it's having that vulnerability to be like, okay, I'm going to really look at this. And I don't know about you guys, but when I've been bluntly honest with myself, things have not once ever become harder, ever. They instantaneously become easier, even if it's, like, oh, this isn't going to make me money. It's like, oh, but then you're over it in 3 seconds because you've acknowledged what's true. It matches the energy. It's congruent with what you already knew deep down in your gut. Then you can move on. So the entire ordeal took about 65 seconds rather than, like you're saying, months and months of investing in something or seeing that an idea isn't coming to fruition easily. All right, so there was one fifth question, which is, what can I do to create a consistent flow of money in my life? I think we might all have a very similar tool here, which is stay in the question, okay? If you at any moment go, great, that's it, I've arrived at my destination, I've worked all these years and I've succeeded, you have exactly what Simone just did. You have just put everything on a downhill spiral. Why? Because you've just completed it. So what if it's not only about being like money hungry and like, running after money? It's not about that, but it's about consistently asking, okay, so what else can I add here? What else is possible? Not from that frantic stress of constantly having to get more, but knowing that there's so much more that can be created constantly. So what else can I add to my life? And just staying in the question. Please
May I
go
add
for
something
it.
to this? I love how Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, says, like, as a humanoid or a really creative person, like, you move on quicksand. And if you
Yeah.
ask questions, you're moving. And if you come to a conclusion, to an answer, it's literally like you sink in. And that's for me so perfectly described what's true for me. As soon as I'm not questioning anymore, I'm stopping and I'm sinking. Yeah. But it's also easy to get out because, okay, I come to an answer. If I start questioning again, it's moving again. It's simple.
It's true. I love that. And it's so accurate. That's exactly how it feels and how it is.
Can I also jump in with here with this? Because for me, it's everything you've said. It's totally on point. And then the other thing that came up for me was how boring that kind of life. That everything is so consistent, and how much are we basically more like nature, where everything changes all the time and it's moving, like Simone said, like being on quicksand. And how much is that more exciting in in our lives to actually stimulate us to start creating more? And sometimes there's like ups and downs, like in nature. It's basically there's times of abundance, and then sometimes there's like more peaceful, and it's a different energy, and it's a different flow. So what if we didn't have to be consistent? What if we could just move with the energy like the waves?
I love that. Thank you so much.
And there's one more thing, like, especially when it comes to money and wealth, how many people tell you you have to have the answer on your target you're shooting on, instead of going with the energy and then asking questions? Like, it's really the opposite of what's true for, like, if you wonder why you cannot move, like why it's not working, probably you need to try something different to make it work for you.
Yeah. And I love that you just said that about the target, because we tend to think that the target is the end point. Like, there's what's your one target? But what if it's a moving target, like constantly moving? And what if there are many targets? And what if they all branch out into different targets? Like, I love that. And also, one of the things that I would say too, and hopefully this live has, brought you guys some tools that you can start to use right away to discover what your way of creating wealth is. We've given some examples of what works for us, but the reason that these tools work so well for us is because they allow us to know what's true for us without having to follow anybody else's systems. It's not about discarding what other people say, but it's about looking to see, what are your strengths? What are your targets? What's interesting and fun for you? What's feasible for you? If you've got like kids at home, it might not be feasible for you to travel around the world and leave them by themselves all the time, so what's actually going to work for you on a pragmatic level? And I know that for me, with everything in life since I was a child, I always wanted to create a life where I inspired myself. I love being inspired by other people, but I wanted to go to bed every single night thinking, did I do that today? Did I manage to create this? Did that really show up? Am I really doing this? And so what if the target, or one of the targets that you can set for yourself with finances, with riches, with wealth, is to inspire yourself by the choices that you're making. To actually go to bed at the end of the day and go, wow, did I actually have the courage to do that today? Did I take that leap? Did I manage to receive this thing that I never thought was possible? Did I actually stay in question and keep the ball rolling when everything else was turned against me and I was supposed to just stop or quit or fail? Wow, what if you could impress yourself and inspire yourself? So hopefully that's what these classes and all this material of Access Consciousness and Right Riches can, help you start to discover for yourself. And I have a bunch of Right Riches for You classes coming up. We're going to pop all the links in below. And either way, I'm sure that we'll see you guys either live or online somewhere in the world. If you've liked this video, please hit like and share. And thank you so much, ladies, for being on. Bye-bye.